Well, hey there, campers, and welcome back to a brand new episode of Camp Cryptid. I'm your host, Erica Fett, and it's almost Valentine's Day. It is so crazy to think that we are pretty much almost halfway through February already, and I'm just like, it's crazy. But since I'm on a roll with these movie recommendation episodes, I had my 2024 list of all the movies I loved from 2024. And then I just did my favorite Bigfoot films. I thought Valentine's Day is like the perfect time to cuddle up and watch a good Valentine horror movie, right? So I thought, since I'm on a roll with all these movie recommendations, I might as well just do one for Valentine's Day, because I did an episode last year on, the topic of sex and horror, and went through all the tropes and some good movies to watch for that. And, whether you want something Valentine's Day themed, or you want a romantic or love themed horror movie, or if you just want like a classic slasher, I kind of divided my list up into different categories. So no matter what mood you're in this Valentine's Day, there's going to be something for you on this list. At least I hope. Now, with that being said, disclaimer, my list are, my personal favorites, right? And movies and films and any type of art is always subjective, right? So, some people may go away from this list and be like, yeah, I've seen all those. Those are great. Some people may listen to this list and be like, that's trash. Whatever your opinion, I hope there's at least one on this list that you can enjoy. Now, with that being said, I will get into my list of horror movies that I think are the perfect watch for, this Valentine's Day. And I'm going to start out with love-themed and like romantic horror movies, just because to me, this is probably like my favorite of Valentine's Day themed movies are like the ones with like love stories, right? And I'm a huge like hopeless romantic. So, tying in love and romance into horror, yes, please give me more of that. So the first one on my list is probably my absolute favorite film of all time. I love this movie. I think y'all probably are tired of me talking about it because I talk about it almost every single episode. I feel like I do at least. But that is Bram Stoker's Dracula. And when this movie came out in, the early 90s, I, was a young kid, and then seeing, the filming locations, the costuming, the entire, one of my favorite novels ever on, the big screen, I was like, this is it for me. And here I am, almost 40, and it's still like, it's dear to my heart. So I had to add Bram Stoker's Dracula to the top of my list because this is like the ultimate love story mixed with horror, and I just don't see how you could go wrong with this movie for Valentine's Day, right? We've got some of the most ultimate romantic quotes from this. I mean, I've crossed oceans of time to find you. Like, are you kidding me? Like, the luckiest man in the world is the one who finds true love. And I don't know if those are the exact quotes, but pretty much gives you an idea. And then you add in this life, like this extremely beautiful love story that is just centuries old. Oh my gosh, are you kidding me? Yes. So Bram Stoker's Dracula has to top off my list at the beginning. I had to put that one in there. And I think that is such a beautiful movie. Not only is the score beautiful, you've got beautiful costuming. I mean, I was going to wear my Lucy dress that I bought, and I was going to, cosplay this episode. But then I was like, I'm being way too ambitious right there. But I will cosplay that at some point. So yes, Bram Stoker's Dracula, top of my list. Now, another one that I had to add to this list, and it's one that I think that gets overlooked a lot, is Phantom of the Opera. Phantom of the Opera is a musical that I've seen in person. I've had the pleasure of seeing it. My husband had never been to a musical before, and I was like, listen, like, this is going to be amazing. And I think he was kind of like not really looking forward to it. And then after it, I think that he was totally like, okay, I can get on board with this because it's amazing. The Phantom of the Opera that I'm thinking about is, if you obviously can't go see it in person and, like a musical or on Broadway, is the Emmy Rossum and Gerard Butler. It's so good. And the music is beautiful. Like, what is it? Andrew Lloyd Webber who wrote it. And it is just incredible. So I would highly recommend watching that because we're talking about some like epic love stories, right? We're talking about the Phantom of the Opera, which is like a horror icon, right? So I had to add Phantom of the Opera to the list. And also it's like kind of that time period piece. So it's kind of like you get the cool costuming as well. And it's just, to me, it's an amazing, amazing film. I love it. And I love a musical. So I had to put that one on the top of my list as well because, well, it's so good. You know, I guess the first three films on my list are all like kind of like period pieces with amazing costuming and like beautiful sets and locations. And Crimson Peak is also one I added to this list because I think that one is a very unique movie and it was beautifully done. And it's got like some good jump scares and it's just like that beautiful gothic horror. And I think that, you know, after everybody really liked Nosferatu, seeing, you know, Crimson Peak and some of these other movies, it kind of just adds to that beauty of, you know, those period pieces. So Crimson Peak is also on my list of my love romantic horror movies that I think that you should watch this Valentine's Day. Oh my gosh, I'm going through my list right now and I'm like, ooh, these are good. I need to go watch them now. Okay, so the next one. I talked about this in my horror anime episode, and I think I've talked about this in my vampire episodes, but back in the day, growing up, right, we had Mystery Science Theater, and then we also got, you know, blessed with Toonami. But I will say, one of the things that I loved on sci-fi growing up was Vampire Hunter D. And those of you who have seen Vampire Hunter D know that this is one of the, in my opinion, one of the most beautiful animes that I've ever seen in my life. I just think like if you're looking for badass, it's amazing, right? Well, the second one, Bloodlust, is a love story and it is so good. I literally could watch these movies like every single day because not only is just when you watch this, it is like watching art the entire time. It is one of the most beautifully done animes and you get the joy of seeing like creatures and monsters and vampires and werewolves. And then you've got this beautiful, epic love story mixed in there. And it's like, what more do you need? So I would highly recommend Vampire Hunter D Bloodlust is one of my ones that if you're kind of wanting something that's like a love story, but if you're wanting something a little different than a movie, like a traditional movie, I would say Vampire Hunter D Bloodlust, hands down. To me, it is just like, it's so good. I have a Vampire Hunter D thing hanging up over there. It's like, I just love that movie. It is so good. I can't recommend it enough. And like I said, the first one isn't so much a love story. The first one is like a little bit more action packed. You kind of get an idea of the world. But then it goes into the second one, and after you know D and you kind of get an idea of what his like life is like, you know, being kind of like a day walker, I would say, you really get this beautiful love story and thumbs up. Like so good. So Vampire Hunter D Bloodlust. Go watch it like right now. Okay, so now we're going to kind of get into some of the other love movies, and The Love Witch is beautifully done. It is a good, unique experience, and like I said, I'm a huge fan of costuming. Like, I literally wish I had more time to sew and actually like craft and stuff, but between like Warhammer, all my cats and my dogs, and then just being an adult and like life, you know, I just don't have time to anymore. But maybe one day when I'm like retired, I can like make these beautiful costumes. But I just loved it. I think it was so cute. And like I said, I love the costuming and it kind of gives me like, I don't know if it's like the way it's set, but it kind of almost reminds me of like almost a Suspiria type of vibe in that sense, but so cute. I loved it. Now, one that I think is a little bit weird, and it's not love in a traditional way. It's more of me thinking like, okay, love will make you do this, right? Is Rosemary's Baby. And this is one that my husband and I watched Apartment 7A, which is kind of like the newer prequel to it. But Rosemary's Baby was, I think, in the late 60s or early 70s. And it was one of my favorite horror movies growing up. And when we watched Apartment 7A, I was like, have you even seen Rosemary's Baby? And so he'd never seen it. And so we watched it. And to me, this is such a good horror movie and kind of like the subtleness of it, but also like the extremes that someone will go to for love. And I think it is like kind of like a classic staple in my horror like go-tos. So that is one that I would say, if you haven't seen that classic, that's one I would definitely recommend. Now, a little bit newer is a weird, twisted type of love movie, and that is Fresh. And I think it came out on Amazon. No, I lied. Hulu. I think it came out on Hulu. And it's kind of a like twisted take on love, but like a Stockholm syndrome, like cannibalism movie. I don't know. It sounds weird. I don't know. If you're into that type of thing though, it was very entertaining, and honestly, like I really enjoyed it. So I would highly recommend that one too if you're looking for just like a very like a newer movie that's like more like love story-ish focus. So definitely that one. Now, this one is one, I'm doing a werewolf episode next week, and I added this to my list this week because I remember watching this when it came out, and oh my gosh, I don't remember when this one came out, but it's Wolf with Jack Nicholson and Michelle Pfeiffer. And if you're looking for a more love story of a werewolf, I would recommend this one. It's kind of like the best of all the worlds, right? You get werewolves and you get people in love, and then you get Michelle Pfeiffer. Are you kidding me? Like, yes. So I added Wolf to my list just because it's been a while since I've seen it, but I know I always enjoyed that one. And it to me is a really good like love story. And when you have like icons like Jack Nicholson and Michelle Pfeiffer in it, like, yeah, sign me up. Werewolves and them. Yeah. So I had to add that one to my list because I thought that one was really, really fun. Now, some of the newer ones that are, I would say like more recent, like within the past probably like what, year or so? Not even that, like this year. Two that I would recommend if you're looking for a more recent type of like scary horror movie that's like more love and romance focused is going to be Your Monster. And Melissa Barrera is in it, and honestly, like it was so good. I really enjoyed this one. It's a really fun time. Really, really enjoyed this one. It was just really fun, and it was a perfect little like romance mixed with like a monster, which was really fun, and I would really recommend that one. And it is new. I think it just came out at the end of 2024, or it came out at the beginning of this year in 2025. So if you are looking for something a little bit more modern and like new, that's one I would definitely recommend. And I think it's on HBO right now, but it's so good and it's so cute, and I highly recommend it. Now, when we're going to get into some of these other newer movies, this one's going to be kind of along the lines of like your classic Valentine's Day themed like slasher and Hard Eyes. It has Devon Sawa in it, and how can you go wrong with like a Scream King like him, right? And when it comes down to it, it has this story where it's like all Valentine's Day themed. And I think going into Valentine's Day, like that's a perfect theme to do, right? Like when you have these like classic Valentine's Day themed movies, how can you go wrong with something like that on Valentine's Day? Yeah, so that one is out in theaters right now, but if you need to go and have like a day at the theaters for Valentine's Day and have like a little fun date night, that would be probably what I would recommend. And so while we're getting into these like classic Valentine's Day slashers, I wanted to talk about My Bloody Valentine, because that one you had the OG one and now you have the remake. And honestly, you can't go wrong with either one, because to me, I think that there's something great about like really enjoying the originals, right? And then also seeing how they kind of have new interpretations of the remakes. But both of them, you have to add them to your list because they're so good. And they're classics. I just honestly, like, I want to go through and I want to watch all of these on Valentine's Day. That's what I'm going to do. And then you have Valentine, which is another classic, like Valentine's Day themed one, which I think is perfect if you're looking for something that's like a classic slasher, like Whodunit. Perfect. And then you have Lover's Lane, which is on Valentine's Day when the movie takes place. And it's a play on the old urban legend of the hook, which, I mean, how can you go wrong with that? But those are probably four. So we have Hard Eyes, My Bloody Valentine, the remake, and the OG. And then Valentine and Lover's Lane are the ones that I would recommend that are like classic slashers. Valentine Day one that's just so perfect. Now, another thing that I wanted to mention, because, you know, there's movies, right? Of course, we love movies. Like, how can you not? But there's also really, really great TV shows that I think are kind of great to, like, if you just want something to binge that day, right? And I would say True Blood Always, I would say True Blood because there's like 18 love stories in there. Like the entire, like, come on, it's so good. And you've got vampires, you got hot vampires, you've got hot werewolves, you've got like witches, you've got every like themed of anything you could possibly think of, and you've got love stories. And you got love triangles. And I love me a like raunchy vampire like soap opera. And I love it. I have no shame in admitting that. But True Blood is one I would recommend. And a little bit stranger is this next one, but Tales from the Crypt. Honestly, like a lot of the episodes, if you think about it, they're like themed to be like based on love and love gone wrong and romance has gone wrong. And, you know, you even have Bordello of Blood, which is the movie that came out, which was the second movie I think that came out. But Tales from the Crypt, it's like such a fun time and it brings back like my childhood when I watch them. I was going through my physical media the other day, all my DVDs and VHSs, and I found my entire like DVD set of all my Tales from the Crypt, and I was like, oh my gosh, like, oh, they're so good. And I was like, I'm going to add these to my list because like they work. And when you think about it, they have a lot of themes of like love and romance and sex and stuff like that. So I thought, you know, if you're looking for something to binge that day, Tales from the Crypt, do it. It's so good. How can you go wrong with that? And I added this last one to my list because it's not necessarily Valentine's Day themed, right? I'm thinking like horror, you know, stuff like that mixed with like love stories or love in general. And so I wanted to add Dexter, the TV show, to my list. And the reason for that is, hear me out, he kind of has like a new love interest every season. And then you get like real life monsters through serial killers and murders and stuff like that. And, you know, I think to me, like it's one of the biggest topics on Reddit, right? Is like, who's the best love story in Dexter's life, right? And while I'm a Lumen girl, because I love Julia Stiles and I thought Lumen was great. That's always one of the topics, you know, is which love interest was the best. And I will have to say, I think I had to add Dexter to this list because one, I'm currently watching Original Sin because I'm obsessed with Dexter. My husband and I both love Dexter. It's like our thing that we watch like every week now. And we've gone through like every year we'll do like a Dexter rewatch. So we're such nerds. But I had to add it because that to me is like one of those shows where love is kind of like a big focus on the show. And I think that like every season, since it focuses on different aspects of like his relationships, I think that that's when I had to add to this list because it's like I wanted to give like a really cool, well-rounded list of things that could like that's like not just like, oh, this happened on Valentine's Day. Like, no, it's like stuff that you can watch that is like love focused, right? So yeah, that's what I would say. If I was going to do TV shows, I'd say True Blood, Dexter, and Tales from the Crypt. Now, with this being said, like I had my disclaimer at the beginning of the episode. If there is something that I missed, like please let me know because I want to, you know, next year when I do my Valentine's Day episode, I want to bring it up. And that's the funniest thing is like I did my Bigfoot list, right? And then as soon as I published it and I was reading y'all's comments, I was like, there's that Steve Zahn movie. Oh, it was The Wilderness. It was a Bigfoot movie. And I was like, I like that movie. And I totally forgot to add it to my list. So y'all are doing like God's work out here, reminding me of movies. And so I really do appreciate it when you all give your input and let me know movies that you liked that I may not have seen, or even in this case, TV shows that you liked that I may not have seen. I think that when I go to do my episode next year, I can like do a little add on to be like, hey, thanks y'all. Because, you know, my attention span is like this. So being able to be reminded of certain movies, I do write them down so I remember. So I just want to thank y'all so much for adding those. Because I had a lot of people being like, Boggy Creek. And I was like, you're absolutely right. I forgot Boggy Creek on that. So yeah, just let me know. Let me know what movie or TV show or, you know, horror, anything that reminds you of Valentine's Day or something that you think is like love and romance focused, because that's kind of what I wanted to focus on for Valentine's Day is love and romance, right? Because that's what makes the world go round. Now, Next episode, I am doing more cryptid goodness. And I know this beginning of the year has been loaded with movie reviews, but I've had a lot to review. And doing these movie reviews is like one of those things where even in my werewolf episode, I'm going to be doing my favorite werewolf movies at the end of it, because to me, like I said in my Bigfoot one, kind of the way that these people tell the stories of the cryptids and creatures and folklore and urban legends kind of like goes hand in hand with these stories of these legends, especially like the werewolf. You know, you have the Rougarou, you have the Loup-Garou, you have dogman sightings, and then you have the traditional werewolf. So being able to tie in how people tell this story through cinema also kind of tells us more about the creature and the stories about it in general. So that's what I really, really enjoy doing. And I love movies. I can't pretend that I am not like a huge like fan of film and cinema, because it's what I've grown up with and it's what I love. So that's why I will always shout me out some movies at the end of the episodes, because I don't know. I just love movies. I think it's so cool. Like everybody coming together and making that is so cool. And so, yeah, that is my list of my Valentine's Day horror must-watches. Is that a thing to say? So that is my list of my ultimate list of Valentine's Day horror movies. And honestly, like, I think that there's something for everyone, hopefully, on this list. I'm fingers crossed. But to go back over it, Bram Stoker's Dracula, Crimson Peak, Phantom of the Opera, Vampire Hunter D, Bloodlust, you've got Love Witch, you've got Wolf, Rosemary's Baby, Fresh, Your Monster, Hard Eyes, My Bloody Valentine's, the OG and the new one, and then Valentine and Lover's Lane. And then, you know, you got the TV shows like Dexter, True Blood, and Tales from the Crypt. So I would say any one of those should be a good time. I hope so, at least. And if not, let me know what you'd recommend in the comments. Like I said, I think that is one of my things that I look forward to most, is like something that I missed, or if I haven't seen it, I get so excited because I'm like, yes, I haven't seen that. So yeah. But yeah, with that being said, I hope you all have an amazing Valentine's Day. I want to thank you so much for being here for another episode and hanging out for another fun little silly episode of, Camp Cryptid. And if you haven't checked out my sex and horror episode from last year's Valentine's Day special, I'll make sure to link that at the top here so you can go check that out. But yeah, I hope you have an amazing rest of your week and have an even better Valentine's Day and Valentine's Day weekend. And until next time, take care.